and welcome back to Cardiac. Now I said I was going to do a first time slasher this week. I lied. The reason being is because something came out. If you've seen the title and thumbnail, you'll kind of know exactly what we're going to be talking about today, and that is going to be the Phantom Manor. For about the past year, the Phantom Manor went through a major refurb, and I wanted to highlight what I liked about the change and what I probably don't like and wish that they would change back again. So let's get started, shall we? If you're not familiar with the story of the Phantom Manor, it's centered around the Ravenswood family in Frontierland, specifically in a town called Thunder Mesa, and their downfall, because the mine that they own happens to be where a spirit known as the Thunderbird lives and causes an earthquake, and that's where Henry and his wife Martha pass away. Melanie is left to her own devices, and she starts meeting with different men as she gets older. She becomes very attractive, and for some reason her dad is the reason to cause all the murders, and specifically the murder of a gentleman by the name of Jake, which then causes the storyline of the Phantom Manor, and where on her wedding day Jake is lured up to the attic of the manor, is hung to death, and she is left to roam for the rest of her days trying to find where Jake went while singing this very melancholy song. When they were redoing it, it was announced that they were going to heavily rely upon a fan theory that had been something that had been going around for quite some time, and that was the Phantom was actually the dad, and the dad was the one who was causing all of it, even beyond the grave, was still causing all of the deaths of her various suitors. And so, perfect example of things that I liked. I liked the new entryway. When you enter in, there's an old painting that then, as the story continues on, it starts to come alive and become newer and fresh and go through there. I also happen to like the new stretch portrait gallery and the way that the story is told that way, because originally when you enter into the room, it basically, the old way was, it was just her with one of the paintings with her suitor, but she was always just unlucky and encountered something. This time around, they actually included a painting of her with 4 different suitors, and as the room began to stretch, she disappeared, leaving the suitor into their inevitable death, and then there's a 5th person, being Jake, hanging above you in the attic with the Phantom like laughing at you, or him basically, which is pretty cool. And I think it was a new element that I hadn't really seen, especially within the Haunted Mansion. That stretch gallery effect was kind of new, and so I'm glad that that happened, because it brought a little bit more life and a little bit more almost like cartoony feel in a way, but still trying to make it as real as possible. The other thing that I really liked is, again, it's another lean to the story itself. There's a painting of Henry in the hallway as you exit the stretching gallery, that he's near a window, and then out of nowhere the lightning crashes and his face changes to be that of the Phantom, to go, hey, if you didn't know that the dad was the Phantom, guess what? He's the Phantom. To see that element and to let it happen. I also like the new paintings. I think each one is just more life or taking inspiration from another painting and giving it newer life. One other thing that I really do like is when you are about to board the Doom Buggy, there's a staircase with windows showing the outside with a lot of rain and thunder and lightning. Originally there was no one there. When they redid it, they put Melanie facing out towards the window, which I think was really pretty cool, because it was showing out that she was still looking and her story wasn't done, even after she passed away. At least that we know of. Now, as much as I love some of the newer changes, I feel like a lot of the changes that came from the front half of it to put out the story, so then that way when you continue through the rest of it, you kind of got understood without needing any more context after that. So the things that I disliked about this one, this is more of just like an acquired adjustment, but when you first, in the original version, when you first entered onto the Doom Buggy and continued in, you would round this corner and you would see Melanie, like with her candelabra, like roaming around, like, hey, I'm looking for my man, and then you would finish out and you'd see the endless hallway, and she'd just be kind of floating there looking for people. Well, they've now taken her out and put a suit of armor and then put the Phantom near her in the endless hallway. Now to me, I just think that's almost like a little too much in my perspective. I also liked how she was there kind of welcome you into the home going, here, help me find my man, while she was still looking. So it was just an interesting move that I didn't know if it worked or not. Another big one that confused me mostly is that John Debney, the dude who basically took Grim Grinning Ghosts and created a whole orchestral score to Phantom Manor, more elegant, more unique. When you get into the Grand Ballroom, that has now been replaced with the ballroom music that you hear in Haunted Mansion, which is this. As opposed to this. So I feel like when they put in this music, it really just like stops everything abruptly. You're like, wow, this is not what I expected. Where with the original score, it was more smooth. The transition just made more sense to me. The other thing that they did too that I don't know how I feel about, but is basically in the original version of the Grand Ballroom, it was just Melanie on the staircase kind of looking out going like, okay, where is Jake? Where is Jake? Her fiance, and the Phantom was standing in the sills of the window laughing at her going, yeah, you ain't gonna find him, bitch, because I got him killed. So that was an interesting move where they moved him closer to her and they moved him just a little bit higher up off the stairs, which was kind of weird. Not a change that I don't think I necessarily liked. But the one final change that bothered me so much, because I just loved this one, is when you leave the manor before you go into the catacombs and within the earthquake, or the cracks of the earth where the earthquake occurred, you saw the Phantom exactly how he normally looks, which is fine, but once you get closer to the end and go back underneath the manor, you would see basically him, but he's now decayed. All of his garments are just ripped and torn and just withered away, and I loved that. They took him out. Motherfuckers. I hated it so much, because I think it's fun to almost realize that, yeah, he's still a human, and I feel like that would have played a whole lot more if they hadn't changed it. I think it would have worked a lot better. And the only other one too is that that whole ending sequence bothered me a lot, because when you would then go in through the rocks, she would be in like what looked like crystals and a skeleton pointing the way out with the Phantom hovering above your carriage. But now it almost sounds like she's devious and sinister just like he is, or they're in like cohorts together, which is kind of weird. So my final thoughts on the entire attraction is I think all of the elements at the front end are great. I think the ending is a little bit more rockier, and I think it should have been more of a, because of what Dad did, this is the result of what his daughter ended up going through and being basically trapped into something that she was never going to be able to solve. That was her inevitable end. It was weird, but I love it. I think Phantom Manor is, out of all of the Haunted Mansions, that one's my favorite, because it tells a story. It's not just like a tour of you roaming through a haunted mansion. It was a story of someone in a very terrible circumstance. That's just what I get out of it, but let me know in the comments down below, what are your thoughts about the new Phantom Manor? If you like them, if you like to see the full extreme low light walkthrough that DLP Welcome I used all the clips from, please feel free to visit the link in the description down below. And thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of Cardiac. If you liked the video, please do not forget to like and subscribe down below. If you'd like to follow me across all of our social media accounts, please feel free to visit the links in our description down below. If you like what we do and like to support more of the channel, please do not hesitate to visit our Patreon link, and that is also included in the description down below. You can donate anywhere from $1 to $20, and each tier has its own unique perks. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and as always, my name is Forrest, and I'll see you in the shadows.